The last day of the World Tour, Santos Tour Down Under in its 18th year, based in the centre of the city of Adelaide, South Australia. The start by Tourism and Sports Minister Leon Bignell, waving off 135 riders for the final 90 kilometres of the event, 20 laps of a 4.5 kilometre circuit. Simon Gerrans was the wearer of the race leader's ochre jersey by just 9 seconds over Richie Porte, and in third place the Colombian cyclist Sergei Henao. Immediately from the gun, the attacks formed. It was to be expected. None were endangering the overall lead of Simon Gerrans, but there was always at stake a stage win in the city of Adelaide. The circuit itself coming out of the CBD and heading up towards Victoria Square before returning. The peloton under the control of Gerrans' Orica Green Edge squad, while 4 riders, Adam Phelan in the red, 5 riders indeed, Laurent de Vries, Lieve Westerer, Carlos Verona and George Bennett tried to slip away. The speed was such at nearly 50 kilometres an hour. These riders just tried to hold off the field, which was very determined not to allow any breakaway to escape. A vibrant atmosphere, and after 5 laps of freedom, they were brought back into the fold. The race was once again all together, but it wouldn't be for very long. Following the route of the tram between the city and Glenelg, the riders now turned away from Glenelg and head back towards the Adelaide Oval. An attack by Martin Jalangi, a rider who will retire midway through this year and has always enjoyed his visits down under. It was his way of saying farewell to South Australia. The bell for the first sprint of the day, and Jalangi had been joined by Thomas de Gent of Belgium and the Lotto team. They would share the sprint points. It was really of no avail as they weren't in the competition, but the race for third place was different. The rider in the green jersey there missing out Jay McCarthy, as Daryl Impey kept it in the bank for Orica Green Edge. But it wasn't all plain sailing, as Floris Geerts, the Dutchman on the BMC team, took out the rider in white and blue, Anthony Roux, when he skidded on the left-hand bend. Both up, both okay, both rejoined the race. Meanwhile, the 2 leaders were holding on to a scant 30 seconds, the field never really letting them out of their sights. The laps ticked by as the field reassembled, but always up front was a tandem from Belgium and the Netherlands. 9 laps to go, and the last of the special II net sprints, and they were still clear. They weren't interested in the sprints, they were actually trying to stay away. 66 kilometres covered of the 90. The determined face of Martin Jalangi, celebrating possibly his last escape from the professional peloton before he retires at the end of the month of May. The peloton were beginning to think of a sprint finish, but they almost made a mess of the feeding station as they tried to snatch bottles. And then 2 riders attacked from the pack. This was to spell the beginning of the end for the breakaway, as Lieve Westerer and Laurens de Vries, 2 riders on the Astana team from Kazakhstan, broke clear. The pace was proving too hot now for the Belgian. De Gent, he started to fall back while the others went forward. He was soon put back in his place in the main field. Only 1 man managed to get into contact with Martin Jalangi, and that was Westerer. Now we have 2 riders up front. It did seem that the Dutchman just did not want to relinquish the front. A massive crowd, approaching 100,000 people, was watching this final stage, and what they were seeing was all the race brought back together at the bell. 1 lap left to ride of this year's Santos Tour Down Under, and it was surely now to be a sprinter's paradise. And the big effort by Luke Durbridge here to keep this race together at Montefiore Hill, to prepare their man Caleb Ewan to take out the sprint. He didn't disappoint. The smallest man in the race with the most power pumped clear of the field. He'd won the first day of this race. He'd now won the last day as well, in fine style, taking on some of the great sprinters of the race, including Giovanni Nizzolo, who was placed in third.
Well, I'm standing here right next to Caleb Ewan, and what a week, Caleb, this has been for you here in Adelaide, South Australia, topping and tailing the Santos Tour Down Under. You've learnt a lot this week.
Yeah, obviously it wasn't just a good week for me. The team showed, I think, this week that they were by far the strongest. You know, it was always going to be hard going into the race with two ambitions of trying to win sprint stages and also the GC with Simon. But I think we did it perfectly, and I'm so happy that we came away with 4 stage wins and overall.
What does it mean to you? What does it mean to the Santos Tour Down Under to win this bike race 4 times? What does it mean to Australian cycling to have such a great venue and a brilliant crowd?
Oh, we're so lucky to have this race here in Australia, and it's fantastic to race the Santos Tour Down Under with Orica Green Edge and Aussie team winning the World Tour, only World Tour race we have in Australia, the opening World Tour race of the season. It's just awesome.
The 11th win for an Australian in this event, which has been going for 18 years, and the 4th win for Simon Gerrans, with his younger upstart there, Caleb Ewan, the fastest sprinter in the world at the moment. It was a tremendous result for him. The large crowd seeing Caleb take his prize as the stage winner, and the man for the future was all smiles. 7 wins already this year, as he saluted the large crowd in the shadows of the Adelaide Oval. But the man who has now won this race 4 times in 2006, 12, 14 and 16, Simon Gerrans, announced his return. He's also the first leader of the World Tour at the end of a very exciting nearly 800 kilometres around the roads of South Australia. Simon Gerrans now all set to take his team into Europe.
Congratulations.